Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Parthoda, will you do the invocation, please?
Yes. Om Pathaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Shayam Vyasena Grothitam Puranamunina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniam Bhagavatim Astadashadhayinim Ambatamanu Bhagavad Gita Bhavadeshinim Namastute Vasha Vishal Buddhe Pullar Bindayat Patra Netra Enotaya Bharat Taila Purna Prajalita Ganamaya Pradipaha Rupanna Parijataya Tutra Betraikopanay Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamritaduhe Namaha Sarvapanishadagavadogdha Gopalanandanaha Parthavasya Bhakta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahan Vasudeva Shutam Devam Kamsachanurmadanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishmadrona Tata Jayadratha Jala Ullarnilo
Gandhar.
Pala Nilotpala Shalagrahuvati Kripena Bahani Karnenu Velakula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Bhotini Shattirna Khulu Pandavairana Nadi Koi Vartaka Keshabaha Parashariya Bhatashariya Malam Gitartha Gandhotkatam Nanakkanakesharam Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhitam Lokeshajjana Shatpadai Rahu Rahu Pepyamanam Muda Bhuad Bharat Pankajam Kolimala Ruddham Srinasri Ashe Mukam Karoti Bachalam Pungam Langhayati Girim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Paramananda Madhavam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunnanti Dibbaistavaihi Vedai Shang Padakramopanishadar Gayanti Yam Shamagaha Dhanabhastita Tadgatena Manasha Pashyanti Yang Yogino Yashantanna Vidu Shurashuragana Devaya Tashmai Namaha.
So, we'll start with a question that has been asked by Raghuji. And his question was that if we have attained the meditative state, then why is japa necessary? Technically, japa is not necessary. Puja is not necessary. Nothing is necessary. Just the removal of ignorance is necessary. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't happen easily. So, japa is a tool that we use to remove that. But our inherent nature, we are like rubber bands. So, we go to that stage, we have to hold ourselves in that stage. There is a force that is required to hold us in that stage, right? So, an external paraphernalia of breathing exercises, or being in a certain atmosphere, or being sitting in a certain form, or sitting in a certain place at a certain time. All of that is the force you are applying to make that rubber band extend up to that stage. Now, the moment that tension is released, you go back. And where do you go back? Oh, you go back to your Rasgulla. The Rasgulla comes up. Somewhere or the other, the Rasgulla will come. So what do you do? So you go back to japa. You go back to japa. And you keep on doing that until that samadhi state is a sahaja samadhi. Now, that is the highest level of samadhi. We may never be able to attain that, at least in this life. We may be therefore able to go at least up to nirvikalpa samadhi. That much is at least assured. Sahaja samadhi is reserved for those who have enough compassion to have gone to nirvikalpa, come back, and that is why it is called avatar. Avatar means to come down. Now, where do you come down from? Is there a sky or a cloud on which he is sitting, dangling his legs, looking down, saying, oh, now it is time for me to come down? No, nothing of that sort. Nothing of that sort. What is this coming down? Coming down in the tantric definition of coming down of avataran is basically when the person touches the kundalini, he has gone, right? Sri Thakur says that for a normal person, once you have attained nirvikalpa samadhi, the body will shed itself after 21 days at a maximum. The body will shed because there is nothing else. There is no more karma to be done by the body. The body has no more function to do. It has gone. The tool. See, what do you do if you have gone into if you have hired a Uber, right? And you have taken that Uber and you are saying intercity travel. You are going to Pune. Now you go to Pune, you get off the car. What do you do of that car? The car goes. You don't hold on to that car. You have no more need for it, right? So you go. Now, if you are going to come back to Bombay, then you will tell that car driver, "Wapas ana, sham ko wapas jayenge." Now, why do you want to go back to Bombay? Because you have brought the chiki from Lonavala and you want to give it to people. That is why you want to go back. Otherwise, you have no need to come back to Bombay. That is the Sahaja Samadhi state, where he is actually operating out of Samadhi. Raman Maharshi, Sri Thakur himself, all of these people, they used to live in that. For them, Thakur himself says, right, he used to go and do puja. His puja was completely something different. Right? He would take the flower, put it on his own feet. Then suddenly he would smell it. He would take that smelt flower, he would put it on the feet of Devi. Parthoda was standing in line for a darshan of our Srinathji, and he was holding a basket full of beautiful flowers. And the flowers were so beautiful that he got attracted. His full name is actually Parthasarathi. He is Krishna himself. So therefore, he smelt the flowers. But the pujaris over there said, no, you have smelt it. You are not Krishna. That fellow is Krishna. So we can't give these flowers. But for Ramakrishna Paramahansa, there was no difference. So he took those flowers, he put them on his own feet, put them on his own head. He would eat the food before it is given as prasad. Why? Because that is that state of oneness that he is operating from. He was asked, oh, you are a Uchchakoti Brahmin, Chatterjee. And where is your thread? So he said, the floods of tapasya washed away the thread somewhere. That is a state we need to attain to. That is our goal. That is our goal. But to get to that goal, we have to stop being a rubber band. We have to be continuously in that state. Now, to be continuously in that state, even the rubber band also, if you keep stretching it, at some point of time, because of its natural plasticity, it will go into that state. The elasticity will go, right? And the plasticity will take over, and you will get to that point where the rubber band itself has become big. So that process is nothing but japa. So that continuous, until you reach a stage where it is an ajapa japa. Right? Every time you are conscious of your mind is actually doing the japa on its own. Madhav Rao Shama, who was a devotee of Sai Baba, in his deep sleep, people would snore. And he would be in his sleep. He's completely asleep. And he would be saying, in his snoring, he would be saying, Sai, Sai, Sai. That is ajapa japa. Even the body is not functioning, the mind is not functioning, the intellect is not functioning, the self has merged. That state can come only when you have repeated practice. This is not the state of samadhi. It is the state of having removed the avarans so much that you still have that avaran, but it is of a very thin muslin cloth. The light is visible now. And possibly when the Dehanta happens, there is no coming back. Right? Krama Mukti will happen. Yes.
So another thing you said yesterday, for the lunatic and the realized master, drinking from the gutter and drinking from the Ganges, which unfortunately today is like drinking from the gutter. That's what we have done to the Ganges. But as I say, I have a question though. You see, when you drink from the gutter, it doesn't affect the realized master. It doesn't affect his soul, but it may affect his body. Right? But then in the Pancharin, there is Bhutarin also. We are supposed to take care of all the tools we have been given. So we should not knowingly harm the body. Correct? So I was just a bit, I understood the message of that.
It is a message. You don't see
from both, knowing
you
that there is no difference. I understood that.
It is a message. It is a message. You do not see people going around doing that, right? However, actually, I have. Let me tell you about a very beautiful incident that happened in Vrindavan. So I have a very close friend in Vrindavan. He is a Guru Bhai, and he was all set for taking sannyas, but unfortunately he could not. So he comes from the Goswami family, so they take care of the Chappan Bhog for Maharaj over there. So when Baki Bihari Ji has given the Chappan Bhog every day, the Chappan Bhog, incidentally, do you know why it is Chappan Bhog? Why is not Chappan Bhog given to Kali, for example? Why Chappan Bhog?
It's a restaurant
here. Story.
That I love to visit.
Into 8 prahar.
Sorry?
7 days into 8 prahar.
Yes, Bodhi, you are right. 7 days into 8 prahar. Right? Why 7 days?
That Govardhan Parvat.
Correct. For 7 days he held up the Govardhan Parvat. And he was not fed. So when he put the Govardhan down, he was given the food for the 8 days. So 7 days. So 7 into 8, 56. That is why the Chappan Bhog comes. Now anyway, Chappan Bhog used to be made in this person's family, and his father used to take care of it. He was the younger son. The elder son, so the father became very ill and was unable to take care of the process of creating and making the Chappan Bhog. And the brother, unfortunately, passed away. The elder brother passed away. So he devoted his life to Baki Bihari Ji's seva. He took permission. He was already he had taken brahmacharya vows, but then he had to take permission and go back to being in samsara. So he's still a brahmachari, but he is in that sense he is a grihastha because he lives in the grihastha ashram. He's not married. So his name is Purushottam. So Purushottam and I were walking around in the streets of Vrindavan, and he told me that there is one Kambal Baba. So the Babaji called Kambal Baba. So he's naked. He is typically normally naked, but he has that, those military blankets, very rough, gray colored thing. I mean, I don't think we could use those. So they're very prickly. He would have that around himself, whether it is heat, cold, nothing. He would do that, and he would sleep on a plank which he would put on the open gutter. So on the open gutter, he would put a plank and he would sleep on that. So underneath there is the gutter water flowing, and he would be sleeping on that. And typically his behavior was, he would be walking around. So if you saw him, you would definitely think that he is a person who is not in his normal senses. He would suddenly walk into somebody's house, Whatever was cooking over there, he would eat it, and then he would go away. People who knew about him, they would welcome this. Sometimes when he was fed, people would see him, they would go out and offer him food. He would just take the bartan and throw it away. Sometimes he would dig his hand into it and eat it. He would behave as if he is completely, sometimes he would be very abusive. And I saw him walking around and I didn't know who he was. And obviously the first impression that you get with such a person is that he is not in his normal senses. And Purushottamji said that pair pakad ke shashtanga pranam karo. So he said, I did. Apta, right? So immediately I did the pranam. And as I did the pranam, he spoke to me in Bengali. And he said, what are you doing pranam to me? You are doing Vrindavan Parikrama. Radharani is walking behind you. Catch her feet. This continued presence of Ishvara dissolves even the sense of this bhuta needing to be taken care of. There is no rin. So to answer your question, the rin has already been met. There is no rin any further. So therefore, whether you drink gutter water or whether you drink Ganga water, you have no rin. There is no need to take care of this. So the bhuta rin has gone. There is no bhuta rin, there is no pitru rin, there is no deva rin, there is no rishi rin. There is no rin anymore. It is because you have rin that you have to come back, no? Yes, please, Bartoda.
To Raghuji's question, I remembered one thing I was reading. I unfortunately don't remember who was that realized master who was writing. He said he took a travel along the banks of Narmada. I mean, right from the source to the end, he was taking it to a trip. And one evening, there was no shelter, nothing. He had to sleep almost by the wayside. And very early morning, he was extremely thirsty. He got up and drank the water from Narmada. And when the daylight broke, he found that was actually a gutter on the banks of the Narmada. And absolutely dirty water. And anybody drinking that water will be having cholera. He did not have anything. So he said that it is so sacred. That means his bhava was so much, he was so much into that he said, I did not have any problem in my body, no stomach upset, nothing. And we completed the trip. So I think body also, perhaps when you have reached that level of devotion, I think body also gives you company.
Very true. So anyway, so let us start. We were at verse number 24, so we will start with verse number 25. Maharshinaam Briguraham Giramasmekam Aksharam Maharshinaam Briguraham Giramasmekam Aksharam Yajnanam Japayajñosmi Stavaranam Himalayah Yajnanam Japayajñosmi Stavaranam Himalayah Maharshinam Briguraham Giramasmekam Aksharam Yajnanam Japayajñosmi Stavaranam Himalayah. Had we done this? I think we had done this, right? I remember talking about Mainakagiri. So let's move forward to verse number 26. Ashvatha sarva vrikshanam devarshinam cha naradaha Ashvatha sarva vrikshanam devarshinam cha naradaha Gandharvanam chitraratha Gandharvanam Chitraratha Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi Ashwat Gandharvanam Chitraratha Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi Ashwattha Sarva Vrikshanam Devarshinam Cha Naradaha Gandharvanam Chitraratha Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi Ashwatha Sarva Vrikshanam. Amongst the trees, I am people. I am the Ashwatha tree. Where did we find the reference to the Ashwatha tree earlier? Anybody? Chapter 9, Urdhva Moolam. Right? He said the inverted tree of life. And the leaves are the Vedas. And he describes this tree as the Ashwatha tree. And he says you have to use the acts of detachment to cut this tree. So he re-refers back. And who is he now? This tree of life. The tree of life. Now it is believed, and I don't know whether it is biologically proven, not proven, but it is believed that the Ashwatha tree has a stronger life force than most other trees. Now, in practical sense, we can see that. See, Ashwatha tree, you try to cut it, immediately after some time, you will find new shoots that come. Unless you really pluck it out from the roots. And also, it doesn't require any soil. It will grow on cement. It will grow wherever you find that seed has dropped from the bird's droppings, it starts growing. And it is also believed that because of that extreme energy and life force, it also exudes a large amount of oxygen. Now, it's an evergreen tree. It has very large, broad leaves, thin leaves. So maybe it is true. The last one, I don't know. But the life force in Ashwatha is very definitely distinctly visible, right? And therefore he re-relates back and says, I am the life force that exists across this. Of that, when you see trees, you see Ashwatha, and therefore I am Ashwatha. Then he says, Devarshinam cha Naradaha. Right now, this does not require actually too much of explanation. Kalaho Priya Naradaha is the normal saying that we say. Oh, he likes to create fights. But if you have noticed, in all the Puranic stories, wherever he has gone and created a fight, it has been ultimately for the benefit of the humankind. It's always been for the benefit of the humankind. So he always does something which has a long-term benefit, a short-term trouble. Number one. Number two, who is the Guru of Vedavyas? Who is the Guru of Vedavyas?
Narad.
Yes, Narad is the Guru of Vedavyas. Who is the Guru of Valmiki? Narad Muni.
Also Narad.
Right? So Itihasa, your Veda, the classification of the Veda itself did not come from Vedavyas, but the classification of the Veda so as to make it accessible. The Itihasa, the stories of all the Puranas and the Ramayana, where did they originally come from? If they came from these two gentlemen, Vedavyasa and Valmiki, then we know the importance of the Guru, and therefore Narada is the source. So Narada is the source for all of this. He is the source of, he is also the Guru for Dhruva. Right? When Dhruv goes into the forest saying that I need to sit on my father's lap, and he's roaming around, he meets Narad, and Narad gives him the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He is also the Guru for Prahlad. When Prahlad's mother was going to be killed by Indra, Narad Muni took her away to his ashram, and she was pregnant at that point of time, and he taught her Kayadu. He taught her all the Bhakti Sutras, the Narada Bhakti Sutra. He taught her. She did not learn. He was also not teaching her. He was teaching the womb. He was teaching that which is in the womb. And that child which came out in the womb itself, having absorbed the Bhakti Sutras, came out as the best of all bhaktas, so as to even exceed his own Guru, to the extent that when the word Bhakta is used as a prefix to his own name, Bhakta Prahlad. And nobody says Prahlad. We say Bhakta Prahlad. We don't say Bhakta Narad. He's a Devarshi Narad. He's a Bhakta Prahlad. So that essentially, if you look at Narad, and therefore of all the Devarshis, I am Narad himself. Yes, Raghuji.
So, I mean, it's possible that Narada also has taught Vedavyasa, but I was told that Saunaka was the guru of Vedavyasa, which is why in 2 or 3 places in Mahabharata, Saunaka is referred to. I've read one version of Mahabharata where in the very first opening chapter, Ugrasraya is going and in the forest and meeting with a group of rishis who have just attended a yagya done by Saunaka, and now they are resting and they invite him in and say, "Well, tell us about it." Then he tells,
I will check
about.
I will check and revert.
Okay.
However,
also in the
however, I will give you the reference
30th
to
chapter.
I will give you the reference to the Vedavyasa being the guru for Narad, for Vedavyasa. Sorry, Narad being the guru for Vedavyasa is after the Mahabharata was written. So after the Mahabharata is written, and he was still not feeling satisfied. He was not feeling fulfilled, and he was sitting by the banks of Saraswati, dejected. And he heard the tunes of the veena. So he immediately understood and he bowed down. And Narad asked him, why are you looking so dejected? So he said, I have written the 17 Puranas. I have written the entire Mahabharata. And yet my heart is still not satisfied. So that is when he is prompted and he is given the Bhagavata mantra and he writes the Bhagavata Purana. He writes the Bhagavata Purana. That is how Vedavyasa is supposed to have learned from Narad. Possibly from where you are talking, that is historically, Mahabharata was written before the Bhagavata Purana. So that could be what you are talking about. So that is technically possible. So anyway, so coming back to our what we were talking about, so he says, Devarshinam cha Naradaha. Gandharvanam Chitraratha. Chitraratha is the king of all the Gandharvas. So again, the best of Gandharvas, the best of songs. Whenever you hear a song, you say Gan. The word for song is Gana. Right? And Gana, whenever Gana is happening, therefore the person who is holding the Gana, Gandharva. And therefore of them, I am Chitraratha. And then says, of the Siddhas, I am Kapila. Kapila has a very interesting background. Kapila is the son of Kardama Muni. Kardama himself is one of the Saptarshis in one of the ages. He is one of the Saptarshis. And he is a Manasputra of Brahma. Now, Kardama had 9 daughters. And his daughters individually were married off to various other rishis. For example, Atri married Anasuya, Arundhati married Vasishtha, right? And all of these are daughters of Kardama Muni. After having got all his 9 daughters married off, he prayed to Vishnu and said, I want you as my son. So Vishnu says, no, you cannot have me as your son, but I can be your grandson. So he has, sorry, my mistake. I can come as your son, and therefore he marries another woman called Devahuti. He has the 10th child, and the 10th child is Kapila. So Kardama Muni's 9 daughters essentially are a manifestation of the 9 powers of Vishnu, the Navadurga, and then Vishnu himself manifests in the form of Kapila. Kapila is known to us because of he and his Shishya. Who is his first Shishya? Do you know? Yes, his first Shishya is his own mother. His own mother is his first Shishya. And Devahuti becomes his Shishya. But he has a he has a Sishya who he teaches to teach, and that person's name is Asuri. So together they have written what is called the Sankhya philosophy. So the Sankhya philosophy takes us to that point where Purusha and Prakriti and explains everything through the analysis is called Sankhya, and Kapila Muni is he is supposed to be the propounder of this particular thing. In the Sankhya is, from an intellectual perspective, the highest that you can go is using Sankhya. After that, you have to take a jump. After that, there is the jump, that Shraddha wala jump, right? That jump has to happen. But to the highest point of where you can go intellectually is through Kapil Muni. And hence again, he says, of all the Siddhas, Kapil is not a Rishi. See, he's not classified as a Rishi. He is classified as a Muni. What is a Muni? A Muni is somebody who has gone Mauna. He may be speaking, but here he has got Mauna. Right? This has become still. And therefore he is Siddha. Siddha. Sri Thakur used to play on the word. Right? The word Siddha in Bengali also means boiled. Now, if you are already boiled, you cannot give any more birth, right? If the potato is boiled, it cannot give more potatoes. So he would say, go and boil yourself. Go and boil yourself. Become Siddha. So you become Siddha by boiling yourself. What is boiling? You have to do tapas. You have to do tapas. You have to do sadhana. So he says, Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. Then in the next one, Uchchaishravasam Ashwanam, Uchchaishravasaswanam, Viddhi Mamamritodbhavam, Viddhi Mamamritodbhavam, Uchchaishravasam Ashwanam, Viddhi Mamamritodbhavam, Airavatam Gajendranam, Naranam cha Naradhipam, Airavatam Gajendranam, Naranam cha Naradhipam. So what he's saying is Uchchaishravas. Uchchaishravas is the name of the horse which was born out of I was born out of Amrita. Uchchaishravas, best of the horses. He can fly, he is also the instrument for the story behind how Garuda is born. At some point I will tell that story also. But Uchchaishravas is the best of all horses. And of all the elephants, who is the best? Again, comes out from the churning of the ocean itself, Airavata. Airavata is white colored. He has 4 tusks. So he's the best of the Gajendra. He is of all the kings of elephants. He is the Lord, Airavata. And of all the humans, amongst humans, who am I? Oh, I am the king. Naradhipa. So because I have kingly quality. So wherever you are seeing power, wherever you are seeing Aishwarya, wherever you are seeing Shri, wherever Shri is the encompassing idea of everything that is good. Wherever you are seeing that, wherever you are seeing excellence, see me. Then he moves on in verse number 28. He says, Ayudhanamaham vajram, Ayudhanamaham vajram, Dhenunamaham asmi kamadhuk, Dhenunam asmi kamadhuk, Ayudhanamaham vajram, Dhenunam asmi kamadhuk, Prajanashchasmi kandarpa, Prajanashchasmi kandarpa, Sarpanamasmi vasukihi, Sarpanamasmi vasukihi, Prajanashchasmi kandarpaha, Sarpanamasmi vasukihi, Ayudhanamaham vajram, Dhenunamasmi kamadhuk, Prajanashchasmi kandarpaha, Sarpanamasmi vasukihi. So he says, of all weapons, I am Vajra. Vajra was a very beautiful created weapon, created out of the bones of a rishi called Dadichi. Dadichi had done such a deep tapasya that his bones had become hard, harder than the hardest stone or metal that was available. And the Devas went to him and said, we want something from you. And Dadiji was said, I know what you want, here, take it. And he gave up his body. And they took his bones and they fashioned the bones into a weapon called the Vajra. And the Vajra was used by Indra to kill Vritra. Vritra is nothing but the forces that keep the rains away. So, and Vajra is represented as lightning. Now look at the imagery, right? In the great heat of the plains of northern India, in that great heat, right? For 6-7 months, you have been baking, and then the clouds start rolling in. And what is the first thing that happens? There's a clap of thunder, and you see the lightning, and you see the clap of thunder, and the rain starts pouring. That is Indra using the Vajra defeating Vritra. Right? So the Vajra, it's a beautiful instrument because it is the instrument of life. Without Vajra, rain will not fall. If rain doesn't fall, we cannot survive. Especially if we are in Bombay, we are all the time looking at the rain, and not only looking at the rain, we are seeing how much that rain filled up the lakes. Because otherwise, the BMC will say next year we will have 20% water cut. So we are also looking at so we are very interested in the Vajra. When the Vajra comes, we are very happy. Right?
Yeah, Vajra is the source of life in many other ways also. They believe that it is lightning that actually created the first amino acid.
Yes. Right, so that's a different tangent, but yes, the few of the experiments for creation of life, one of the things they did was to take this primordial soup, as it is called, and then they infused it with electricity, and they found that amino acids started forming. Now, amino acids formed, they did not change into life. That's a different story. But amino acids being the building blocks of life, electricity was one of the instruments that was used to create life, is what we are talking about. Then he says, amongst the cows, I am Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu also came from the Amrita Manthan, right? And who was she given to? She was given to the Rishis. She was given to the Rishis. From her originates all the other Nandini and all the other cows who are there. They are all originated from the Kamadhenu. Then he says, for all the causes of procreation, I am Kandarpa. Kandarpa means Kamadev. I am desire. Procreation cannot happen without desire. So I am desire. Physical desire also. All desire. Desire itself is the life force. Without desire, what will happen? The life force will die. So I am actually, see, this is the beauty of the Gita. When you see, okay, then you have to be desireless. Yes, you have to be desireless. But you understand that the desires also are nothing but me. Now, if I understand my desire to be a manifestation of Ishvara, can I have desires which are taking me away from him? Very difficult. Very difficult. You have body-based desire and you're focused on the body. When you move away from that, can you have body-based desires? It will be very difficult. Try an example. Take any Rasagulla that you are thinking of and you infuse that with your consciousness and say that this is nothing but, this desire is nothing but Krishna. See what happens to that desire. Next second, the desire is not there. Yes, please.
So two points of Manan. One on Tattva Bodha, what you had said, and the second is this thing again. When it comes again from my Manan on the three, the robot, the realized master, and the common person. Okay, I will one day I will completely write down that Manan and send it to you. But coming back to the Tattva Bodha thing, where he mentions that the function or the role of the genitals is pleasure and not procreation, then I start wondering, but when I eat a Rasagulla through the taste, I am getting also pleasure. When I see a beautiful dance, I'm getting pleasure. When I hear a lovely music, I'm getting pleasure. Why he didn't? There are also pleasures. How come he doesn't mention that and he talks about it when it's the genitals? I didn't understand.
Sorry, but I haven't actually understood your... Oh, okay. See,
Like he says, anus is for waste removal and all that, but for genitals, he doesn't say procreation, he says pleasure.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. I'll first ask you to do your manan on this, everybody. And we will have a discussion on this in the next session, not in this session. There is a reason I'm asking you to do. It's a very beautiful question, very good question that you have asked. And why would the other organs which are also giving us pleasure not be included, and only the organ of sex organ be included as the source of pleasure or as the reason for its existence being pleasure? Why would that have been said? I'd like everybody to do a little bit of manan over there.
The second thing was, see, this relates to the 50th chocolate example that you gave. So when I see these realized masters, they also they know to enjoy. If something comes, they participate. They participate in their experience, which a robot cannot. A robot will get the outcome of his effort and then he will move on. He has no idea this thing. But the realized master will get the fruit. He is not attached to the phala bhoga, but he doesn't preclude him from bhoga. Okay, but I've noticed them. They will take one morsel, one piece of the rasgulla, and they will eat it, and they will have the intense pleasure of the rasgulla, and with that they're gone. They moved on to other stuff. They realize that the second piece will be less pleasurable than the first, so they don't even want to go there. They stop with that first bit. They have got the best intense highest. If you take that example and go backwards to the very beginning, the very first piece you put in your mouth, that has to be the best pleasure. So they get that and they move on. So that way they're not attached. That's Correct. Another thing Correct. That I just thought about.
Correct. So okay, so we said he talked about this. He says, and then in the last one he says that of the snakes. Now snakes are divided into two categories. One are he says one are what we call snakes, and the other he calls serpents. Now there is a slight difference, and we will get into the mythology of that a little later. The first he says is, of the snakes I am Vasuki. I am Vasuki. Now Vasuki also, he is the king of the snakes, of the Sarpa Raja. He is Sarpa Raja. He is a very large snake, and he was the one who was used as the rope for the Samudra Manthan. He is large enough to go around even a mountain, right? Immediately after that, in the next shloka, he says, Anantaschasmi Naganam. Now you have to understand this. And this is the mythology, I will get into it some point of time, is that the Naga and the Sarpa are two different beings. They are not the same. They apparently look the same, but the Naga is very different from the Sarpa, right? And I'll explain the mythology later on. So Naga and Sarpa, so he says in the next shloka in verse number 29, he says, Anantaschasmi Naganam Varuno Yadasamaham. So he says, of the aquatics, of those who live in the water, Yadasam, I am Varuna. I am the ruler of the waters. And of all the Nagas, I am Ananta. Who is Ananta? Ananta, the word itself means he who has no end. Ananta is nothing but a physical manifestation of the one aspect of Vishnu, which is the Ananta. Ananta goes down in all the avatars. It is believed that Ananta comes down as the brother of Krishna. As the brother of Krishna. So Lakshman is nothing but Ananta. Balaram is also nothing but, so actually there's a funny story there. So says that Balaram, Ananta goes to Vishnu and says that in the last avatar, throughout the entire life, I had to go and touch your feet. Even here, you are only keeping your feet on me. I need a point where you will touch my feet. He says, okay, now you go as the elder brother. So he goes as Balaram. And Krishna, in the moral code of that particular time, whenever he would see his dao, he would go and do pranam. So Ananta was being worshipped by Vishnu in the avatar of Krishna. So here he says, Anantaschasmi Naganam Varuno Yadasamaham Pitranam Aryama Chasmi. Of all the Pitrus, Pitrus are the originated, created ancestors. Of them, there is a particular being called Aryama. Aryama, I am Aryama. Yama Sanyamatamaham. Yama Sanyamatamaham. He who controls. Sanyam. Sanyam means he who controls. Some interpretations call it he who dispenses law. It has nothing to do with law. Sanyam, the word Sanyam means to control. So he who controls is called the Sanyamata. Now the Sanyamata is the person of all the Sanyamatas. I am Yama, the final controller, he who controls completely. So that I am Yama who controls and completely controls on this entire. By why does Yama control? Because ultimately he is the death. He is the death of the physical body, the mental body, the intellectual body. That is something that is controlled by him. So beautiful Manan examples that he has given. We should stop here. Think of these Manans. One Manan I have given you, which has come from Raghuji, very beautiful Manan. Let us think about it and we'll discuss this in the next class. The Shloka chanting group, the Bhagavad Gita group, I think you also have one day where we will do a chanting as an offering. So I will repeat that once, then we will on the group, so that we all, what we will do is I will put on the video facing Devi, so you will all be able to see Devi and you can chant. Those who are in Mumbai can obviously come to the place here and we can do the chanting together. So what we will do is we will chant at least one chapter. So we'll take up any chapter that you want. I will leave it to you. All of you can discuss amongst yourselves. All of you are members of the Sohamanan group, so you can discuss over there what chapter you want to chant or what chapters you want to chant, and you will lead it from there. My job is only to make Devi's presence available through the internet. After that, it's up to you. Right? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.